Hello. I wish I could really tell you the story about this with my friend Julie here, but unfortunately Julie's not here. This is Nagi Nayoa, and this is how my friend got disfellowshipped. Okay. The only reason I know this story is because me and her husband are friends, and this is how my friend Julie met her husband as well. Alright, back in 2001, I met this girl at my community college. Her name is Julie. That's not her real name, mind you, but that's how. So she was in one of my classes, and I found out she was just there to get her GED. She was homeschooled for a long time. Her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, and sometimes it was kind of embarrassing how I knew her. But Julie was a really nice person, so she considered it really her mission that she was going to try to witness to me. But we turned out to be study buddies for a while. So anyway, I was talking to her about going to a convention, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to." I had just gotten off work. I was like, "Yeah." She noticed that I was getting ready. This was around 2000. I was about 21, so I think 2001. And the convention, unfortunately, was the week after 9/11. So we were both kind of feeling that little bit of a drag in there because we felt terrible that it was going on, and she really didn't want me to go. That was the whole thing. She really didn't want me to go. And so I told her, well, I'm just going to go anyway because I need to get this off my head. I need some time to just do stuff. She's like, okay, but keep your phone with me. I had the crappiest phone ever, but okay. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and I meet this really nice friend of mine named Paul. He's a nice guy, pretty laid back, and we were sitting there talking, and I go, oh, my friend Julie's texting. I am at con. Where are you? I thought you weren't coming. Okay, thought you were at KH. Okay. She's like, was but I was like, okay, whatever. So she met up with us, and this is when she was lecturing me how dangerous this place was to be by yourself, blah, blah, blah. You should have someone else with you, blah. And I'm like, I'm not going outside. I know it's Montbello, Colorado. I am not insane. And I'm sitting there, and Paul's like, who's this? Oh, this is Julie. She's one of my classmates. And he's like, oh, hi. Nice to meet you. Unlike her, I actually did have a high school diploma. I did graduate from high school and all that. But anyway, Julie and I were talking, and she had ended up buying a badge just so she could just hang out with me. And the thing is, she wasn't trying to proselytize. She wasn't trying to do anything, really. She wasn't trying to witness. She just was lonely. So we're sitting in the lobby talking, and Paul introduces himself, and Julie is just sort of like, whoa. I'm like, oh, just go with the flow. Don't worry about it. I'm like telling her, go with the flow. You're wearing a costume, though. I'm like, oh my God, Julie. Just go with the flow. I'm dressed in a costume, and I'm like trying not to embarrass myself. I'm dressed as a character from Do You Want to Use Magic or Magic Users Club, and I'm sitting there trying very hard not to walk away from her. But so we're sitting there, and she only has a Saturday pass, so I'm like, okay, I have to get ready to go to. And she's like, oh, but. And she's like trying to keep us from doing anything, really. And finally, I go to a couple of the panels, and I'm enjoying myself. She's like, what's karaoke? Japanese for tone deaf. It's for singing. Okay. We go to that. I am sitting there, and someone's singing the Pokemon theme. And I watched Julie just get into it. She's like having the blast. I'm sitting there going, I'm so glad our parents do not know what this is all about. And then I meet my friend Jan. Then I meet my other friends. And I'm like trying to keep an eye on Julie because this girl's embarrassing me enough. Then I have to get ready for the costume contest. I told Paul to tell her while she was in the bathroom that I had to go to the green room and get ready for the costume contest. Oh boy. So she actually left before the costume contest because she had to be back because her curfew was around 10 o'clock. Funny, I never knew a 23-year-old to have a curfew before, but apparently her parents had a curfew. So, she ended up picking up a couple comic books, figured she ended up getting some art supplies too. She likes to draw. She's a really good artist. I'm not. But anyway, she goes home, and now we're gonna fast forward about when I started going to Metropolitan State College. So anyway, her and Paul and started dating. He willingly said he would become a Jehovah's Witness just to date her. He actually told her parents that. That was actually pretty gutsy on his part, coming from a guy who's a complete atheist anyway. So, anyway, I'm sitting there, trapped at a Christian Science room. Now, I have my opinions of Christian Science, and this is more Julie's story, but anyway, after the whole incident with the Christian Science room, I ended up breaking up with this guy named Josh. And Julie didn't like Josh anyway, because he was a little weird, and then I found out how weird, because he's a Christian Scientist. He is really, really weird. If you think Jehovah's Witnesses are weird, Christian Scientists are bizarre. My great aunt was one. They were bizarre beyond bizarre. So, yeah. My friend Julie, pretty much I would tolerate her more than I would tolerate a Christian Scientist. Trust me, I have my reasons. So, after the whole thing, I'm sitting there talking to Julie. So, one night, she calls. She's very upset. She had just got disfellowshipped. This is 3 months. 3 months before her wedding. She gets disfellowshipped. And Paul is, like being the rock that he is like really pissed off. But since they live on their own in their own apartment, and her parents had gone into her room, which she was packing, and decided to throw away a bunch of comic books, a bunch of manga that she had that had no magic. No magical girl. Had followed a lot of the tenets of their religion. And they said it was offensive. Funny. Chi Sweet Home. Actually, no, she didn't get Chi Sweet Home until later. Azumanga Daioh to them was offensive. I'm sitting there going, okay, so I guess the Jean-Claude Van Damme joke was not funny. I didn't find it funny either, so I think it was also the fact that she also was a diehard Dot Hack fan. She liked the Dot Hack sign series, so I guess that kind of had magic in it, I guess. I don't know. It's just based off a video game. So, and the worst part is, some of the comic books she borrowed from me. And those were my detective comics. Like, Clamp School Detectives, or the one that she wanted to use for a art reference. I can't even remember the name of that manga, but she said that it was disheartening to know that even when she was packing to move, her parents were still snooping through her stuff. And when they disfellowshipped her, she was like, when they got to their apartment, it was like a giant weight was lifted. And they went out, and she never drank before, so she went out and she called me and she's like, I just had a margarita. This shit tastes great. I'm like, well, she's drunk. So later on, I was talking to her, and she's like, I can't. And she told me what happened. I was like, wow, they really are stupid. And she's like, yeah, well, they still think that even if I'm 23 years old, I'm still a kid. So, anyway, Paul, who was raised Lutheran, like my dad, went back to his Lutheran church, explained what happened to his own pastor, who was a minister, and his minister's like, bring her over. What harm could it do? He brings Julie over, which takes a lot of patience, because the girl's like still upset, and they run through a dry run of the wedding. They call me asking what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm not doing anything, but I do need a ride. Paul's brother, Max, comes and gets me, and I can't stand Max. Drives me to the wedding. We sit there, run through the wedding. I get run back up to Bailey, and I'm still sitting there going, this is kind of weird. Then my boyfriend at the time, Josh, who's the Christian Scientist from hell, calls, asks me where I'm at. I'm at the wedding. He's like, why can't we just do it at my church? Because Paul's pastor decided to do it at his for free. The only thing they had to pay for was like the $50 to do the marriage license, which is a little extravagant on my part, but again, he also did a deal with, he cut the price down because of what happened at Julie's little group to cause the whole thing. And Paul's like, this is dumb, this is ridiculous. And the Lutheran minister decided, out of all the things he was going to do, he was going to change the wording of everything for the wedding. Instead of referencing Jehovah or God, he just wanted to do this as a plain wedding. He secularized it for a reason. Because both of them were pissed off. So he augmented the wedding for their advantage. And I sat there going, this minister is either A, very cool, or B, very tolerant. And it turned out the Lutheran minister had performed secular weddings before. And he said that it's just the right thing to do for the right kind of people. And he said, it's just, I'm doing this not as a priest, but as a justice of the peace. And he did it that way because he's also a judge. And he said the reason why he felt irritated with this is because, one, Julie didn't do anything wrong. And he said it's not her fault. It's the group's fault, not hers. Julie is now married with 2 kids, 2 of them. I'm a happy godmom to one of the kids. The second godmother is my friend. I think I'm not going to give her real name, but I'm going to call her Sophie. Both of us are pretty happy with our precepts here, but the thing is, we're kind of like, okay, when it came to what happened with Julie, it's not surprising. Honestly, Julie, said for something so simple as a children's comic book, she got in trouble with her parents. A simple children's comic book like this. This was not out when she and her husband got together. No. Something like this got her in trouble. And it was not even... I think it was a Doraemon comic book that wasn't in English. And it got her in trouble. And Doraemon is pretty benign, considering. But, again, she said it was the simplest of things that got her in trouble. And her parents had got her in trouble a couple of times for having books that were non-acceptable. And one of them, she actually told the pastor she had actually told her husband she will never allow her kids to read C.S. Lewis. It's their choice. But she did say it. She said that because of a children's book, she got in trouble and got disfellowshipped. And she said it was ridiculous. And she said when she talked to her brother, who had disassociated when he was 20 and lives in Florida with his wife, he said he said it was like having a giant weight lifted off your shoulders and you're going, But when I tell people that this is not my story, this is their story, the reason I relay it is because I had to be there to be the shoulder to cry on for both Paul and her, because they had to replan a wedding in a month. Because the wedding was supposed to be at her Kingdom Hall, and they disfellowshipped her, so the wedding never happened. So her and Paul's planning fell apart, all because of one stupid move from her littlest brother. Her oldest brother lives in Florida and had left when he turned 20. The only thing is the fact that they had to redo the entire wedding and involve Paul's family at the time, who were not happy about him marrying at all until they actually got to know her and found out how nice of a person Julie can be. Julie's actually a really nice person. She can be a little misguided, but nice. But again, this is also the same girl who tried to rescue me from a Christian Science room, which is a story for another time that is freaking hilarious because it involves an ex-boyfriend that I do not associate with for good reason, and a really good friend of mine who is also an ex I still associate with, whose mother also borrowed his cell phone without asking. Again, those are two stories for another time, and I would love to tell them because they're freaking hilarious, because both guys are completely goofy toward each other. Then again, Greg wanted to strap my ex to a chair and feed him to a bunch of bears. I think it was more the fact that Josh kind of had it coming. None of those are their real names, by the way. I will never give out those two guys' names. I still kind of talk to Josh, and I still talk to Greg. But those two guys are part of a story that is exceedingly hilarious, and is my reason why I'm not trusting of Christian Scientists. I will take a Jehovah's Witness over a Christian Scientist any day of the week. Because of who I'm related to, there is a lot of bad stories I have. So, again, closing off. Thank you for listening. Nagi na Yoa, signing out.